2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. I feel like I'm working a great recovery. My partner feels different. How do I not get defensive? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin. Hey, Tyler.
Brannon, what's going on, man?
Just sniffing my grapefruit.
You know, we put this on YouTube.
Do I look weird?
Yeah, you obviously brought a grapefruit in for lunch or something, and now you're sitting there like smelling it while you talk to me.
You know, I used to bring a grapefruit or an orange to work every day while I'd sit there and do therapy. And do you know why?
Stress relief?
It's both. It's totally stress relief. You get essential oils in the rind, right? So it smells really good, and it's something to play with, right? But it also helps me stay present and awake. So I'll sit and sniff a citrus fruit, so while I'm doing therapy, so that I can be very kind of connected to my clients. So my clients got used to it. At first, it was really weird. Like, Brandon's got holding a grapefruit, you know. So try it, man. Go get yourself a grapefruit.
There's some kind of method to your madness. We've done almost 300 episodes now, and this is the first time I've ever seen you sniff a grape. Now you're telling me you used to do it daily.
Grapefruit smells phenomenal.
It does smell great.
It's great. Yeah, so, anyways, I know I'm weird.
But at least you're going to be alive and present here for our call.
I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for us to have a caller. It's a good question today. I love it when we get to people from, this is all the way entirely across the world at the time of filming. This is like way, way early in the morning. So John, welcome to the show. Thanks for your willingness to come on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Why don't you just kind of jump in, and John, and kind of tell us a little bit of your background, kind of ask your question, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. Yeah. So, I've probably been addicted to pornography for a better part of 15 years. Been married for 7, and currently going through a separation. My story really is about trying and failing, as most people experience. I tried to recover on my own without proper support, and unfortunately, I shared with my wife a couple of times in our marriage earlier on, about my addiction, and didn't get better, and just, ended up hiding it from her, lying, manipulating. Um, and then that all came to a head about 5 months ago, where she discovered that I had, been lying to her for years, and wasn't better as she thought I was. And now we're separated. We've got two young kids. We've got a newborn baby, um, and a 3-year-old. And yeah, I feel like I'm getting proper help and support in recovery for the first time in my life, which is great. So I've been, in individual counseling, in a group. I started going to like a 12-step thing last week, and I also did a different group at church before that, and I feel like I'm making really good progress. I've had a relapse and, a handful of slips and things along the way since that time 5 months ago, but I feel like I'm on a good trajectory, and it feels different to before. But I think the thing that I struggle with is, I feel like I'm doing the right things, as best I can in recovery, and getting the right support, and I'm making progress. But yeah, my wife doesn't really see it that way. And she's decided at this stage that she wants to separate and get a divorce. So just trying to navigate that, you know, when she says some things that I'm like, oh, that's not true. Like, look, I'm doing this, or and not jumping into being defensive, and trying to empathize and value her and her own recovery journey as well.
John, what is she seeing like for it to lead toward divorce and separation at this point? Like what is she saying that like isn't changing, or that she needs that you're not giving to the relationship? Like what are the reasons to go down this road that she's giving you?
So I think part of it is probably she's seen it before, like, you know, previously, about 2 years into marriage, when I disclosed that, I was struggling or continuing to struggle, that when she thought I wasn't. She saw me do things like get software, accountability software, try to, be accountable to some friends, and get better. And that didn't obviously didn't work. Um, so I think there's part of it's she's seen it before, but I think the other thing is maybe she's looking for, well, she was looking for hope. She was in the initial stages of this about 3 months ago, and hope to her looks like me not relapsing at all for 3 to 6 months. And I think she probably worked through that with her counselor as, like her own um, measure of what would be an indication that I was taking it seriously. She still doesn't think I'm taking it seriously if if I've had a relapse once, and if I, had a slip, you know. Um, so yeah, she doesn't really see hope, and she, yeah, is sounds like, a lot of what she's finding and researching, maybe getting counsel on from her therapist, is that I'm not in recovery, that if I wanted to stop, I would. And if, like if we were to get back together, she'd just be signing up for more pain and more hurt.
Hmm.
And it sounds like, John, just so I'm clear, you're separated, but you don't want the marriage to be over yet. You actually still want to work on the marriage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And we're separated, but it's probably not what you'd think of in a separation. I'm there every day with the kids. Obviously we've got a almost 3-month-old baby and a toddler, and so I'm there literally every day helping with the kids. So I see her every day. We still talk, and sometimes we have heart-to-hearts where we get emotional, and but we're not, yeah, we're living separately. You know, I'm in a different flat with some other people, and she's living with her parents. So yeah, I definitely would love to, you know, try reconcile and do counseling together. And I've been through a full disclosure. That's also another thing. I did that 3 months ago or so. Yeah, back at the start of September.
How did that go?
Uh, it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. And I think it was really difficult for her. She found out obviously things that she didn't know about, I guess the full extent and all the detail of my addiction. And you know, there was some pretty confronting things in there for her. Um, yeah, it was difficult.
Um, John, how frequent is relapse, and what do you define as relapse?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I have a different definition of relapse than what my wife does. Um, so, I mean, I would say relapse for me is, um, you know, obviously watching pornography, or anything explicit, any type of content, right? It could be like audio, video, images, and obviously alongside that, it's, you know, masturbation and fantasy, engaging in that kind of stuff. So that's what I'd say is a relapse. Slips for me are, you know, if I catch myself looking at someone for too long, or I start down that path of searching for content and stop. Um, you know, I had what I would say was a slip a couple of weeks ago where I was, you know, searching. I found myself searching, and I ended up looking at photos of women in lingerie. And that felt like a relapse to me because I knew I was like searching for the same type of thing, and I was in that same zone. But if you defined a relapse as watching something explicit or, you know, looking at porn, I didn't do that. But my wife thinks that's a relapse. You know, she's like, that's 100% a relapse. It's the same as porn.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a slip or a relapse, what, like, in terms of disclosure to her, what's kind of the agreement or understanding?
I think
And and how do you follow it? Do you actually follow through with it?
yeah, we're still trying to work through that. In terms of slips, I think in terms of like full on relapses, I think the agreement at this stage was that I would just pass it on to her therapist. Um, and
If you have a slip, you pass it on to her therapist.
no,
Is that
that's
a
what I'm
relapse?
trying
A
to.
relapse.
Yeah, I think it's a relapse, which I understood to be, you know, watching content, and, you know, masturbation and fantasy. But in terms of slips, I think that's been something recently that I think we need more clarity on, because I told my wife about what I thought was a slip, right, with looking at photos of women in lingerie, and she felt like that was like a full-blown relapse for her. And so the way that I disclosed that to her probably wasn't done the best it could have been, you know?
Uh-huh. Um, so this discrepancy between this is causing some big problems, is kind of what, and right? She believes it's a full relapse. You're saying, well, I only slipped. Like, so do I have to disclose or not?
Yeah,
Right?
it's caused a bit of friction recently. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
And like obviously I'm on the side of, yeah, I felt like that was a slip, right? I didn't go and watch porn, great, you know. I stopped myself. But I knew I was searching for the same thing, and it felt to me like inside, like, oh man, it feels like a relapse. Um, and so like I'm trying to see the positives, right? Oh, I didn't go all the way. I stopped myself. I got
mhm.
accountability, you know, around that, you know. I didn't masturbate. I didn't engage in fantasy after that. so I obviously see all the positives where previously I wouldn't have done all those things, but she just sees that, well, I still want to do the same thing and I'm not getting better.
Yeah.
Uh, this is a tricky one because from her perspective, it makes total sense why she sees it the way she does.
Mm.
And even what you're describing, John, you're experiencing it as if it's a relapse. And you guys are getting lost in the weeds of what it means to relapse versus slip. There's some kind of other meaning or story attached to that I think is maybe pulling you away from the real issue, which is what's your overall goal
Mm.
and what's your commitment level towards that overall goal? Because we could get stuck fighting over, well, if I saw swimsuits but not lingerie, that's a slip versus a relapse. Like, no, like,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, it's like, what's the intention with which I'm pursuing the things that I'm doing, and what's my goal overall, and what does my work now look like towards those goals?
Yep. Tyler, the reason I was asking the questions is exactly what I was trying to flush out how lost in the weeds you guys are, John. Because like Tyler, I don't know. I've had clients who have spent like 4 hours trying not to see a nipple while they're hafter-baiting. Just the fact that I have the term hafter-baiting.
Yeah.
Trying not to see a nipple while they're hafter-baiting. So the point is they're just riding that edge.
Is that guy in recovery
yeah
in that moment?
yeah
No,
yeah
he's
but he's
not.
like, but at the end of it he's like, well, I don't need to tell my sponsor or my wife because I
Like,
didn't
well,
see the nipple and
it was just
I
it was
only
just a slip.
hafter-baited.
Yeah.
Now, so the weeds is like this little stuff where recovery is something completely different, like completely different. um and if the focus is on are you sober, are you not sober, and what is that sobriety, we're missing the underlying principles, both sometimes the partner and sometimes the person struggling with the compulsive behavior, the underlying principle of actual healing. um John, does that ring true to you? Do you understand what Tyler and
Yeah.
I are saying?
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I didn't want to get into the weeds and debate it with her. Like if that's a relapse for her, then sure, like it felt like one for me. That's not the standard that I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for um, well above that. And I'm trying to do the work of, recovery, not just being sober. I'm in counseling. I'm trying to get, I've only done counseling for a better part of 4 months. So we've still got a lot to go and get into with my childhood and family, and we're still kind of in there unpacking my addiction part. Um, but I'm doing things to not just stay sober, but try to deepen my relationship with God. Get actual connection around me with friends and be vulnerable. Face that fear, I guess, that I've had of rejection and
Mm-hmm.
not being accepted, and yeah, breaking down that kind of, I don't know, the things that have held me back before with defensiveness and secrets and fear, I guess.
Okay, so this is kind of getting to the core of the question we started with for the episode right now. And I know, Brandon, I can see the wheels turn, so jump in and share what you want. But John, you're basically saying, okay, I'm looking at this as sort of the long run. In fact, if she were to come to me and say you relapsed, there's something in you that says I can agree with that. I kind of feel that way.
Mm.
Nevertheless, here's how I'm viewing it, and here's where I'm wanting to go. I want to live far above the mark that I just hit. That's my goal. Here's what I'm doing. Here's where my heart's going. Your question was, how do I not get defensive? And my question back to you now is, what's wrong with just responding to your wife the way you just did to Brannon and I?
Nothing. That would be the best response. Yeah.
What gets in the way of that?
Honestly, I think it's probably to do it's probably to do with what my wife's decided as a measure of me like getting the ability to look after my kids on my own. So she said I have to be, in her words, relapse free. Which again, I guess we had a different understanding of for 12 months before she'll let me have sole charge of our kids. So I guess maybe there's a part of me that doesn't want to define that as a relapse because I want to be able to look after
It's
my kid.
is there a reason that she's worried about like what's the reason she's worried about you being with your children?
It's the fact that there's been 3 to 4 times in my addiction that I viewed content while our like newborn children were asleep in the same space or, sleeping on me. So I did that without any, and this is not justifying, without any sound on, right? And not that they were asleep, but that's not okay at all. So I
So
guess she's,
she's worried that you'll be distracted
And that you'll
and
be potentially putting the kids in the same realm as stumbling into it.
yeah,
She
yeah.
doesn't want
She's
them
worried
exposed to it.
that
yeah,
I
okay.
unintentionally expose them, or intentionally, I guess, expose them to something, right? Which is,
Gotcha.
yeah, driving that, I think,
Yeah.
that test of are you capable of having sole charge of the kids?
Yeah. And that's understandable that she wants to protect the children, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Um, yeah, sometimes, John, sometimes I hear, because you've, relapsed, they kind of equate that to being a child molester, to like you're a sexual being, so therefore you're this, and that's not true. If you're struggling with a sex addiction, it doesn't mean that you're struggling with that at the same time. But
Mm.
I can see her concern there when it comes to your attentiveness to your children, and also what Tyler said about exposing them to certain things. Um,
Yeah,
so I can understand where she's coming from there. Um, but then I also see the struggle of you love your children, you have a newborn, you want to be close to them,
mm.
right? And so every time you relapse, if it's going to be another year that you can't be alone with your children, that's hard. That's really difficult.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So that probably drove me to want to like not define it as a relapse, right? If there
Yeah.
wasn't a test and that measure of are you okay to look after the kids on your own, I feel like I probably wouldn't have responded the same if it was just purely about recovery and there wasn't that in the back of my mind.
Yeah. So I think you're kind of hitting on a piece of this that makes this specific issue so challenging is she's, you're trying to live a new way. That new way
Mm,
includes more transparency, more honesty. And yet the biggest fear you have is the loss of relationship, whether that's with your wife, you're trying to keep your marriage, but also now the worry about the loss of relationship with your children.
mm,
And now it feels like if you go into the principles that you're learning of being more accountable, being more real with like when I asked about why don't I answer the question we just did to us, it's like because that's vulnerable, that opens myself up to judgment. And really the feeling is if I've lived a life where I already feel so small about myself, sometimes admitting or acknowledging those things actually makes me feel more small and more at risk of being rejected or abandoned or
mm.
whatever else it is. And that's the pinch point. That's the place of that's the entry into the cave, so to speak. That now I'm trying to live a new way, but it comes with real potential risks. And those risks feel like core to my being, almost my survival.
Yeah, totally.
The thing that hearing that I'm wondering is your wife in many ways, leading to this separation. She's wanting something from you, or she has wanted something from you. Do you know what that is?
Um,
In
well,
order
she's
to be close to you, she's wanted something. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, John.
um, well, I think well, she's wanted to see me take it seriously, and what she would deem to be taking it seriously, which I feel like I am,
Uh,
but she
o-
doesn't see it that way. She wants me to stop, right?
okay, why?
Well, probably initially she wanted me to stop because she wanted to have some hope that I would recover.
Okay. Why
And
does
now
she
she wants me to stop because she wants our kids to have a relationship with me.
Okay, but why does she want you to recover? Like, I know I'm being annoying, but hang in here with me. Why does she want you to recover?
Um, well, I guess because she knows it's not God's best for me.
Okay, yeah. That's a good answer. And and my guess is she probably loves you or has loved you. So she
Hmm.
wants what's best for you. And she probably wants to be close to you. She wants intimacy. She wants
Yeah.
connection. And but without trust, there's no safety.
Yeah.
And so without safety and trust, there's no path to intimacy.
Mm.
And so if we back up when we say, okay, like without getting caught in the weeds of, did you masturbate or not or what, like let's talk about, are you a person that can create trust and safety in a relationship?
Mm.
Um, and some of her lack of feeling safe will be some of her own stuff, her own traumas and her own fears, and then a lot of that will be your stuff and the way you're showing up as a man in the relationship, not creating that trust and safety. And a great way to look at recovery and to find it, relationships are awesome because they glare back to you like, oh, like I'm not in recovery. It's a great reflection, because a man in recovery can absolutely hold um, that space of creating that safety in a relationship. But it's tricky, John, because if she says, hey, you did this thing, that's a relapse. And you, in your truth, not in your defensiveness, in your truth, really don't feel like it's a relapse. But you comply and you say, okay, if you say so, then it is. Are you building trust?
Um, we're not, right? You're just backing, like, you're just caving to what she's saying, right? You're not communicating.
But isn't caving to what she's saying? I know I'm playing devil's advocate, but isn't caving what she's saying kind of giving her what she's asking for? So doesn't that help the relationship?
Yeah, well, if you just wanted to value her completely and empathize with her, you just try to understand, well, why is she viewing it like that? What is that? How does that make you feel? You know,
Okay,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
but then like when you go to the point of complying with that as truth because that's what she's asking you to do, are you showing up as an honest man?
Well, no, right?
Yeah. So now you're stuck because it's like, well, I want to empathize with her pain and I want to kind of, but I also like, the fact of the matter is, John, you need empathy and you need honesty in order to create trust. You need both those things. You
Mm.
show your strength as a partner and as a man by being able to actually show up rigorously honest and actually show up empathetic at the same time. Um, So if you're showing up compliant, just handing your truth out anywhere to her because she's really scary, she's my God, she gives me my worth, or to her therapist who's telling you exactly who you should be. So, okay, I'll hand it to that person or whoever. And you're betraying yourself and you're not honest and you're not real. But then, yikes, John's truth is scary and it's not very kind in order to be honest. So what do? You're kind of in a spider web here where you move one direction, you ruin it, and you move another, you ruin it. So what, Tyler, can you help him out?
Brannon, there's another piece to this that you brought up. I want to come back to what you said way just a few minutes ago. You said, I have to stick to the truth, but I need to know that it's the truth. That you didn't say those words, but that's exactly what you're saying, because we have our blind ego. We have our sort of like, I'm going to defend my supposed honor because I'm going to stand in my strength or whatever kind of thing. But that's not the truth. And so we, in our own recoveries, we're in the midst right now of battling to get through our own denial and to find what the truth actually is. And I heard this in John when you were talking earlier, like you're sitting there and going, that one did feel like a relapse. Okay. It doesn't matter if it was this or that or the other. That was
whether she defined it as that or not.
Right. I know that I relapsed, so I can own that. And it doesn't matter whether or not I saw this or that or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm working on that. I need to follow my same rhythm. I need to call my team. I need to learn. I need to make new commitments. I need to recommit. I need to grow. I need to see this as the next step in the process. So the way that you tease that out is you have a few things in place for you to help make sure you're operating from the truth. And that's why it's so important to have good team members, people who are going to be willing to hear you and go, okay, but if you do that, are you setting a trap for yourself because you're not going to live up to it in your marriage? Is that really integrity? Like what Brandon's asking you right now, or, you go to your group members and say, I don't know if you're in a group or not right now, but you say, hey, here's my situation. And you get 3 or 4 different perspectives, and then you walk away and you glean all of that and apply it to yourself and go, that is true for me. Okay, now I can show up with my wife and I can say, I can see how you see and feel that way. I can see that you're looking for safety. I can see that you're looking for something to show that I'm progressing. All of that makes sense to me. And we see this slightly differently. I still feel like I'm committed to this, and I'm going to keep doing these things, right? That's honesty. That still has empathy. And what Brannon, I think, is saying is a response like that, even though it's not full agreement, actually builds more trust and safety, because it lets your wife now know the ground she's actually standing on so that she can make her own decisions.
There's this really weird thing. And as men, the 3 of us, like, it's really important to understand this. In order for us to build trust with our wives or to have trust in relationships, we need to be comfortable enough within our own selves that we can allow our spouses and our wives to feel uncomfortable. Because without that, we can't show up fully honest in the relationship. Will be when you're defensive, John, that's the other side. You're in protection mode, you're victim mode. When you're caretaking all the time of, okay, like, I'll try to make sure that you're comfortable, you're still in protection mode.
It's still selfish in a way.
Yeah, it's a self-preservation part inside of you versus your true self that is strong, that is confident, that knows yourself. And so you're not caretaking, but you're also not defensive. You're neither of those things. You're steady. You're strong. And your fears and your trauma and your life experiences lead to you going into those places in order to protect because you're scared of rejection and abandonment. And if you deal with those fears, then you're able to say, okay, like, she can be mad, she can be happy, I can be me with her. And I can be honest with her. I make this sound easy, John, but we're talking about, like, a lot of therapy to be able to get to that place so that you can show up with her. And I know maybe you've already run out of time with her to salvage this. I hope not, because it does feel like you're a good man who wants to figure this out. And I hope that she would give you some time to do this work, to create this safety and trust with her. But whether or not she divorces you or not, this work is so important for you. in moving forward in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to be in that place, right? Where I can just be me and not get caught in jumping to defensiveness or trying to make sure everything's okay, you know? Um, yeah, I totally agree.
I wonder if you're also running into something that's fairly common in recovery with couples where, you're finally, I can hear it in your voice. You kind of fought this your whole life, and now something inside of you has sort of shifted. There's been a little bit of an emotional sort of kind of shift that you can't really put language to, but you feel it. You know it's there, and you don't know how to even put it into words for your wife or anybody else. But you kind of finally see that there's hope at the end of the tunnel, that you can be a better man, that you can keep growing and learning. And if I'm reading that right, what ends up happening is that you can honestly be making real strides in recovery. But what it looks like from the outside is you were down in this hole and you're working like crazy just to get up to like level playing field. And as you get close to level playing field, you're like, man, can people see the change that's happening, the growth that's taking place? Can my wife notice like all the work that I'm doing? And by the time you get up to that level, they're like, oh, you finally showed up to be on the playing field. Like, let's go to work now. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, why doesn't she see it? Right.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, do you relate to that, John?
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and the hard part is that we then turn and we then get resentful of our partners, and we say like, if you would just tell me how good I am again, look at all the work that I'm doing. And really what we need to do is we need to let them have, this is what Brandon's saying, have their space and their feeling, and there's some validity to what they're feeling and experiencing. And yet we still need to have some places where we can get that boost, that encouragement, that support, that structure. And so that's why it's really nice to have a couple of other like men in your life where you can go and say, man, this is really hard. I've been keeping my bottom lines. I like who I'm becoming. It's rough at home, but I'm trying and I really want to fight for this. And you can have 3 or 4 guys go, I see you. This is hard. You're doing great work, monumental work. At the same time, that it makes sense that she sees it this way, and it's okay too. You need both. There needs to be a balance of both of those things. And once you kind of get to that spot and then you sustain it for a while, then what ends up happening a lot of times is you actually start to then pace into your growth, and then your partner lags behind going, I don't know if I can really trust this change yet. And then you have to be
Mm.
patient and understanding and loving and give her the space to then do her own process of forgiveness and trust and understanding and all of that again. And that's hard work because there's tension on either side of the relationship in either one of those scenarios.
Tyler, it's easy for I'm sure it's easy for you, Tyler, to think that John's the man. John, you're awesome.
You can
Like
hear it in him. He's here. He's trying.
you're open to doing your own recovery work. You have God in your life. I could go down the list. It's easy for me and Tyler to be like, heck yeah, John, good job. For her, there's a lot more at stake. And for her, there's a lot more history. And so what Tyler's saying is true. Like, you're gonna have to get that acknowledgement and that praise elsewhere. And
I feel
and
like I have, which is good. Like I do have, my pastor, a group of guys around me that I call,
Excellent.
I'm going to, a group, and I did a group at church, a different one. It wasn't a 12-step one, but I have that. So I guess, yeah, I'm realizing maybe I've just got to focus on just trying to be me and be patient with my wife, because she's not supposed to be, praising my my progress yet.
yeah,
She's not in that space.
John, just last week I heard a story. It's this guy who really wants to work on his marriage, really wants his marriage, and his wife asked him to move out, and because she wasn't feeling safe, and he had had some recent relapses and things like that, and his response was, "Why do I have to move out and be uncomfortable? You're the one that wants the separation." Um, so how do you think that's going to go for him?
Not well.
Why not?
He's defending his supposed honor, Brannon.
He's defending his honor. He's showing up as a man. Like, so, well, yeah, why isn't that going to go well for him?
Because he's the one that's caused the feelings of not being safe for his wife.
Yeah. Okay. And whether he's caused them or not, for him to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna believe you at your word that you need some space to feel safe. And it's really scary in that moment because he loses control of, hey, I'm here to work on this when you're available. I would love to do this. But I'll back off. Like I'll give you some space so that you can do some work so that when we're ready we can do this work together. Now that's if both he and her want to work toward the reconciliation, right? So yeah, turning around and getting defensive and shoving it back in her face and gaslighting her to tell her how crazy she is for needing that space and that safety is not going to help him. But being very weak and just being like, yeah, I'm the worst. I'm so horrible and I don't have any. So he could be honest and say, this is hard for me. It's hard for me to move out, but I understand. I don't want this. I don't want to do this, but I understand why you need the space. So I'll give you that space. And maybe what he could say is, but I need a plan. I need something to know that we're working towards something. So that's what I would need. I can extend that space, but I still need something. So finding that space of truth for him. So it's that empathy and honesty mixed together.
Yeah. John, we've been talking for several minutes now. What's sitting on your heart right now? What are you feeling emotionally? What's going through you?
I feel like I have to get used to being more comfortable just being me and being real, even if I think that might upset my wife. And trying to, obviously still value and empathize, but I think I just need to get used to not jumping to those two spaces of either defensiveness or trying to caretake or, make sure, she's okay and just doing, being compliant, I guess, as you put it.
John, deal with your own fear because the caretaking and the defensiveness is a control tactic. Deal with your own fears so that you don't have to control her to see you a certain way. And then you can show up authentic in the relationship. John, do you know what Hallmark movies are?
I've heard of them. They do Christmas ones, don't they?
Oh, dang. I thought where you were at, you didn't have to endure that. I was happy for you, but you have heard of them. So just like 2 nights ago, I watched one with my wife and she loved it. She loves all of them
because they're all the same.
Every single one is the same. Like, and honestly, John, I thought it was so lame, and I was so bored. And at the end of it, she's like smiling and just like happy, and like this is like, she's just feeling the feelings that she gets from the Hallmark movie, right? And she turns, she's like, what'd you think? So what do I say in that moment?
It's a tricky one. You could say that you're happy that she enjoyed it, but you didn't find it to be something that entertained you as much as it did for her.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's excellent. Yeah. I'm much too blunt. I'm joking with my wife and I'm like, that was so lame. Like, oh my gosh, I could have told you that whole story. Why did we have to watch the 2 hours in order to have the story? I could have told you it, So I'm kind of joking, but I did say this to her. I said, but you know what? I loved watching it with you. I love just being here with you. I know you love these. Like, I had a blast. The movie was lame, and I'm glad I did it. Um, do, do you kind of see the both going on there?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to find that space inside of you where you're okay within yourself and she feels that you love her, that you want to be close to her emotions, that you want to understand her ups and her downs and her fears and her whatever it is. And you're a rock, you're steady, you know who you are. That's what you need to work on. And that gives your relationship a fighting chance if there is a chance, John.
Mm.
I know we're just about out of time. I just want to throw one last thought here. I love what you said a second ago, John, that you need to work on just being, in essence, okay with being yourself. And what's so crazy to me, and this is true across the board for so many of my clients, and I can even hear it in you, is Brannon and I could sit and talk to you all day, John. Like, we want to come hang out with you. Like, you're the kind of guy that we'd love to spend our time with, you know? And we're getting glimpses of your authenticity. And that's the thing that's actually the most attractive to draw people into your world that are going to be worthy of being your friends. And that's the thing you've been spending your whole life trying to cover up so that other people will love a certain version of you. You've been living a lie about who you are. And the more you embrace the truth of who you are, the more you will invite the right people into your life that will actually provide that love that we all desire. So you're on the right track. You're doing great work. John, any last thoughts before we end today?
I mean, this has been good. I mean, I think there's probably always going to be tension, yeah, especially at this stage of recovery for both of us. And navigating that can always feel like you're, walking on eggshells, or, you're about to step on a landmine. But I think for me, I think I'm realizing it's not going to be easy, and there's going to be hard conversations, and there's going to be emotion for my wife and for me. And the best way to just approach that is just being okay that there's going to be hard conversations, but if I'm true to myself and still show her and communicate to her that I care, then that's the best way I could just go into this season, with that in my mind, of be truthful, not just with what I'm doing, behaviors, but be truthful with what I'm feeling and who I am. Yeah.
John, the thing that, like, I think a lot of people don't understand, that is the best relapse prevention. The reason why you go back to the acting out is because you're soothing a wound, to feel okayness. And so when you start to show up authentic and start to experience real love and connection, it takes away that need to soothe. And but it sucks because the addiction itself can just soothe you. It's like, yeah, we'll just take care of you. Real love, both there's that feeling of like, wow, you see me and you know me, and there's that feeling of like of rejection that you get. You get the dark and the light with the pursuit of real connection and love. But when you do this deeper work, the byproduct is I don't need that addiction part anymore. And that can go away because I'm good. Like, I got my needs met. So then you're not stuck in the weeds like we were talking about. So, John, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your support. Appreciate you coming on, being vulnerable and talking with us. If anyone's listening and you found this beneficial, give John a shout out, leave him a review, and just mention him. And any other thing, Tyler?
No, just love talking to guys like you, John. I hear it. You're a work in progress. There's still some battle left to fight, but you're fighting it. And that to me is the mark of success, even more than the outcome itself, is a heart that's willing to give itself to a good cause. And I hear it in you. And I hope you won't give up on that, John. So thank you for your willingness to come on today.